channel if you haven't already. Let's get into it. Let's get into it immediately. Robert Sanchez. I don't want him out of the club. I want him in the firing line. I want him in front of the firing squad. I want him gone. I saw someone on Twitter say that this has got to be a social experiment. There is no way that this is not some sort of mind fuckery. There is no way. This can't be real. This guy cannot be a serious professional footballer. Enzo Maresca cannot genuinely have this much faith in this guy. I mean, the distribution, it's just so bad. He is so bad. Not only now the most mistakes leading to a goal, I think it's most passes to the opposition as well. 8 times he's given possession or given the opposition the ball straight away. I mean, last year we got away with it today. They fumbled it, but Rice scored from it last season. The amount of mistakes this guy makes, you cannot convince me that he's better than Jorgensen. You cannot convince me Robert Sanchez is the best goalkeeper in the club right now. You cannot convince me there is not a better goalkeeper in Cobham than Robert Sanchez. I just don't understand what this guy sees. As the tweet says, it has to be a social experiment. At this point, it makes no sense. It makes absolutely zero sense as to why this guy is still being, not even still being played, still being paid, still being employed. Why has his contract not been torn up? Why has this guy not been put out of a job? It is beyond me. Beyond me. But he wasn't the only one today. I mean, let's be honest. You look at that team. I think Caicedo, I thought he was excellent today. Without him, I thought it would have been 3-4-0 in that first half. That aside, I don't really know if anybody impressed me today. I mean, Neto, there was a lot of whinging. I mean, Neto was the only real willing runner going forward, and there was a lot of whinging from him, a lot of arms up, a lot of complaining. Nearly became the first player to get sent off for 2 yellow cards, both for dissent, both for whinging and not having a foul being given. Sancho, great with the ball at his feet out wide, but completely ineffective when it comes to penetrating the box and actually making something happen. And these are players that we've seen do this season for Chelsea. Like, where have these players gone? What has happened to these individuals to have made them regress so much? It is baffling to me. I do not understand it. Crazy to me that there can be this much of a decline, not just in the general team, but in individuals' performances. The drop-off can be that much. And I know there are certain players being asked to play out of position. Enzo Fernandez being asked to do the 10 role today in lieu of Cole Palmer being out injured. Wesley Fofana being asked to deputise at right back, even though he's a centre-back, even though we've got 2 right-backs in the squad, 3 even without Chimpong. Look, some of it's got to come down to the manager. And I don't know. I feel like today, the urgency from the players was not there from minute 1. There was nothing. We didn't start until about the 25th, 30th minute. And even then, it was tough watching. It was tough going. We thrive when we're, breaking quickly, fast transitions, basketball game, chaos. We don't, we're not very good at breaking down organised defensive teams. And Arsenal, say what you will about them, slag them off all you want. One of, if not the best defences in the country. And Chelsea were always going to struggle to break them down, even with a full Arsenal, if you pardon the pun, but no Cole Palmer, no Nicholas Jackson. You got Nkunku. Doesn't look like he gives up. I was going to say he doesn't look like he could hit a barn door with a banana skin. Doesn't look like he even wants the opportunity to get in front of goal. Doesn't even look like he wants to be in a one-on-one situation. Every time he got the ball when he came off the bench, when he first came back from that injury against Liverpool, Bournemouth when he scored earlier this season, Aston Villa, I remember him scoring crucial goals. I remember him coming on against Arsenal making a difference when we were very, very poor. But today, I mean, Not just today. It's been the run of games ever since he's been called up for the team. He doesn't look like he wants it. He looks like he's kind of entirely disillusioned with Maresca and this squad, to the point where he has mentally clocked out and said, you know what? There's nothing here for me. I will play and I will, take my chances and score when I score, but I'm not going to invest any more time, effort, energy than I have to, because I know I'm most likely out of this club at the end of the year. And it is sad to say and sad to see that a player of Christopher Nkunku's talent and ability cannot cut it at Chelsea. But, for a long time, a large section of the fan base, why isn't he getting the minutes? Give him more time. Put him in over Jackson. And while I was steady back in Jackson, I completely understood why Christopher Nkunku thought he deserved more minutes, 13, 14 goals, whatever it was. The majority of them in the Conference League. But the guy had been bagging on a consistent basis and he wasn't getting the minutes. And there was an extended period where it kind of just felt like it was never going to happen. Even when he was scoring, he weren't getting the minutes. It kind of just felt like it was never going to happen. And that was the breaking point for him. And now, with Jackson out, he's getting the run. But he don't look like he's invested. He don't look like he's there. He doesn't look like he's present. He is just wandering around the pitch, just going through the motions. It is, sad to see more than anything, because he is a incredibly talented player. I think up there, I've long said him and João Felix. If you look at all the players on the books at the moment, him and João Felix, I think up there with technically the best players in terms of quality, what they are able to do with a football. Unbelievable players. But for whatever reason, it just has not worked at Chelsea. And look, it's a cutthroat business. We've already been hearing rumours and news this weekend that we're going to be looking at an overhaul of selling 7-8 players in the summer. We've just bought 2 more Portuguese young talents that obviously won't be joining until 2026, but there will be another rehaul in the summer, another rebuild, another striker bought in, another potential right-footed winger bought in. And these players will be starting to sweat now. And I mean, understandably so. We were all kind of under the illusion that Chelsea were looking to lock these players down into long-arse contracts. Obviously, yes, to make sure that they didn't lose money. But at the same time, it was kind of one of those things where they wanted to kind of find loopholes. Maybe it was a bit of FFP. We didn't really know. I mean, they're going to have a squad of about 40 kids with 10 years left on their contract. It's just going to be a perpetual... I mean, these players have no motivation to run down their contracts. I don't know if we've thought this through as much as we thought we had. Like, these players have no incentive to leave. They could sit at Chelsea and earn a very comfortable salary. It might not be the best salary. There might be some incentives. If they're not playing, the base might not be fantastic. It will be a hell of a lot better than your average 9 to 5. I'll tell you that for fucking free. The majority of Chelsea players will be happy to sit on the bench and earn 80, 90, 100K, 100K plus for 7-8 years. Who wouldn't say yes to that? I think the building is a mistake. I think there is stockpiling and then there is what we are doing, which is overkill. And I feel like we are taking healthy competition to an unnecessary point. We are pushing it past its limit and it is becoming disillusioning for the players, whereby they do not see a future at the club. Even if they sign a 7-8 year contract, they're promised all the game time, all the opportunities in the world. They look at a manager or they look at the track record and think, well, the manager's probably not going to be here more than 12 months. So even if this manager likes me, the next one might not. This fan base can turn on you after one performance, one injury, one bad performance, one mistake. That could be it for you and your Chelsea career. And I do feel like a lot of these, we're building an incredibly young team and mentally, I've got to say, unstable, naive, inexperienced. Was showing today with Enzo Fernandez. And I've got to say, I was very disappointed in the Chelsea players going in on Ethan Nwaneri when he came on. No one really wanted, I mean, except for Caicedo and Cucurella put in a couple, no one really wanted to go and, put in a big crunching challenge on Gabriel, on Saliba, on Thomas Partey, the rapist. No one wanted to go and put studs on him. But as soon as 17-year-old Ethan Nwaneri gets the ball and has a loose touch, you want to go and absolutely smash him, Enzo Fernandez. Fucking grow a pair. You might only be 22, 23, but you were going at it with Gabriel all game. I didn't see you have one serious challenge with Declan Rice, with Thomas Partey, one big challenge in that centre of midfield. There was no desire, hunger, urgency, belief, will today from that Chelsea team. No motivation. And I'm interested to hear what people's thoughts are of that little interaction between Yuri and Timber and Enzo Maresca at the end of the game, because obviously, you know, there was the little handshake and stuff, which I'm a little bit confused about why Enzo Maresca's laughing and joking with him. Should have fucking backhanded him after he disrespected you. But this is the whole reason why they don't understand. Like they missed it. Just went over the head when Haaland said, "Stay humble." They fouled and Yuri and Timber, who's done nothing, like great player, unbelievable talent, very, very good potential. Who the fuck is Yuri and Timber to be telling Enzo Maresca, try harder, try harder? But brother, you're 12 points off the top of the league. Brother, you've won 2 Eredivisie in your, Enzo Maresca won more as a player at Sevilla than Yuri and Timber will ever win at Arsenal. The mentality is nuts. The fact that they can stink up the gaff like they did today at home against an awful Chelsea team with no Cole Palmer. Only goal came from a set piece. Wasn't even a shot on target because he didn't mean it. And the keeper made a mistake. And you're talking about try harder. Brother, we were diabolical today. You should not be rubbing that in. This is not a dub for you, man. We haven't beaten you lot since 2021. We're like Crystal Palace in these derbies, bro. Moving aimlessly. But, you know, but the one thing I didn't like was the little handshake after it. And I was like, bruv, call it, tell him what's up. But, yeah. The Arsenal players today just, you know, reiterated why everybody else hates them. They waste time so much. Taking the ball to the corner in the 56th minute was crazy. And they'll waste 2.5 minutes taking a free kick in a corner. And then as soon as Chelsea take more than 8 seconds to take a throw in or move up 2 yards, whole crowd goes nuts. It is just the most hypocritical fan base. They are just so delusional. But, you know, off Arsenal, let's stop talking about them because at the end of the day, they came out with 3 points and they beat us. And at the end of the day, they probably deserved it. I could maybe argue that we could have deserved a point, but even then, my heart wouldn't really be in it. We did not deserve to win today at all. Toothless up top. And as much as I sit here and think we shouldn't be stockpiling wingers. Shout out, by the way, my bad, in the comments. Appreciate you, Edwige. Appreciate you, Charms, if you're tuning in from work. You didn't miss much, bro. Absolute bore fest. Like watching paint dry. But unfortunately, another loss. I'm so glad. I got offered tickets to go and sit in fucking hospitality or club Arsenal, whatever it is. I've never been to the Emirates, so I wouldn't know. But I got offered tickets to go and sit in the club seats. Fucking could not have thought of anything worse today. But yeah, this Chelsea team is just going forward, you know, and going back to what I was saying about, I feel like we overkill on the stockpiling. I'm not going to be mad if we bring in some more talents because Sancho ain't doing it for me, Neto ain't doing it for me, and Kunku ain't doing it for me. The fact that we're looking for a game changer with 15 minutes to go, 1-0 down to Arsenal, you know, looking to chase the game, bring someone on to go and score, and you bring on Kieran Dewsbury Hall, tells me everything I need to know. Like, you know, you can show me his goal from midweek as many times as you want. A couple of rebounds in there, and it was against Copenhagen. And that aside, he still hasn't done anything good for Chelsea. He is just so poor. And it's frustrating because it's great to see players like Tyreek George coming on and getting, you know, great opportunities, big opportunities in huge games for him. You know, if he could come on and be the match winner, you know, he's etched his name in history. Absolutely fantastic for him. But at the same time, I do feel like more recently, Enzo Maresca has been using the young players, not as excuses per se, but as cannon fodder, as kind of to soften the blow when we do lose or when we don't create anything. It's, you know, it's kind of getting ahead of the questions that he knows are going to be asked in the press conference after. You know, why didn't you create anything? Do you need to buy a striker again? And he can just go, you know, they're 17, give them time. They're young. I do feel like these players are being used, you know, not with their best interests at heart. I did, question kind of the manager's motivation for a couple of changes today, bringing on Tosin and swapping the centre backs at 88 minutes is nuts. Like, what are you doing? Like, why? I don't get it. Not playing Lavia today as well. I think that was a big mistake. I think you saw Caicedo, how well he did in that midfield. And like I said, without him in that first half, would have been 3-4-0. With him and Lavia, with Enzo kind of doing that free roaming, with Enzo being the number 10 and kind of given that second striker role that he was under Poch, you would have just thought that we needed a little bit more. I get that he wants to use Reece James in the centre of midfield, but surely today have him at right back. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, it could be worse. We could be Spurs. They lost 2-0, didn't they, to Fulham? Absolutely diabolical from Ange Postecoglou. But I mean, look, we're still in the top four. Just it depends. Newcastle obviously have a game in hand now, but we were blessed with those results yesterday. A draw for Brighton and Man United, and then Man City. Sorry, and then obviously the Bournemouth losing. I think it's still very much there. It's still very much in the balance. We've got international break now, and then Tottenham after the international break, which horrible time to have to play Tottenham because you want to play them now. We want to play them next week or this week when they've just come off the back of, when they're in this form. You don't want to give them a chance to regroup. You can already tell what's going to happen. You can already see it. Tottenham are going to come out and definitely score the first one, if not two. It's going to go exactly the same way as the last 2-3 games against Tottenham have. Incredibly chaotic, incredibly defense mistake prone for both teams, both defenses. It is going to be like a basketball game, but they're going to thrive on that. And that's where this Chelsea team 6 months ago, I would have been licking my lips at the prospect of a chaotic, energy driven game. But I just don't think this Chelsea team has the legs anymore. I just don't think we have the motivation, the will. I thought the 4 games that we just played and won were incredibly important. I wouldn't go as far as saying season defining, but if we hadn't have won all 4 of those last games, our season could have gone down the pan very, very quickly. But those 4 games, as easy on paper as they were and as lackluster as the wins may have been, 4 wins out of 4 on paper did put a really nice positive upturn in our season. And even though I've been absolutely dreading this game, did not expect us to win, have had an absolutely horrible gut feeling for the last 3 days, it's one of them where you're thinking, you've got nothing to lose. You've got everything on your side to go out there and be the underdog. And this Chelsea side used to embrace that. We used to love that. Where's that gone? I feel like Enzo Maresca said we're not title contenders so many times. It got into the boys' heads, and they genuinely now believe that they're not title contenders, and they just thought he was slagging them. I don't know. Mad. But poor from the players, poor from the manager today. Another lackluster performance and more points dropped. Our away form is absolutely diabolical at the moment. Like, stinks. Terrible form. I don't think we've won in 8 games. It might be 2 draws and 6 losses, but it's at least 8 games we haven't won away from home. And we've been worried about turning Stamford Bridge back into a fortress. We can't even. It used to be our away fans that were the ones that propped us up, that boosted us, that gave us that 11, that 12 man, that gave us that edge. Edge is gone. And speaking of gone, Cole Palmer. Where's Cole Palmer? I think I saw someone say he hasn't scored. He hasn't scored it was a non-penalty goal. Oh, I can't remember what the stat was. Basically, something against the top 6 sides. It was about his lack of his involvement, his lack of contributions in terms of goals and assists against the top 6 sides. It might have been non-penalty goals, might have been goals, assists, can't remember. Basically, he ain't done fuck all for about a year now. It's a crazy stat because it doesn't feel like he has been underperforming for that long. But if I see, and I fully expect to see Cole Palmer in training with Thomas Tuchel's England next week. I mean, I'm going to be writing comments on the Instagram for sure. I'm going to be asking bro where he is or where he was, because coming on against Copenhagen completely unnecessarily, superfluous to that game. Did not need to bring him on. Did not need to take him with the squad. Could have left him at home. Complete definition of unnecessary. But we took him, played him when he wasn't fit, wasn't playing well, wasn't feeling well. He's been iffy the last couple of weeks, and yet still we continue to persist in playing him in games that are beneath him. Let's be honest. And we've got this big game. And I know it's one of those where you don't want to say, "Oh, I'm discounting this, not looking at this game. I'm focusing on the next game, prioritizing whatever." Bruv, obviously, Arsenal was going to be a more difficult game than Copenhagen. Obviously, you're prioritizing this game. I just think we are, we're struggling to understand where our priorities are. I think we've kind of got so entrenched in this. We've got to win the Conference League that we're putting it above other things that we shouldn't. I don't know. I feel like Enzo Maresca is using that as his Hail Mary. That is his kind of his fallback, his plan Z, his last resort. He's saying, if I win a European trophy, if I win the Conference League, they can't sack me. If I win, the only European competition I was in this season, they can't sack me. Listen, if we win this competition by beating Legia Warsaw 1-0 over 2 legs, fucking Copenhagen 2-1 over 2 legs, 3-1 over whatever it was, if we keep these stinky performances and results up against these stinky teams in Europe, it's going to take more than a trophy for Enzo Maresca to keep his job. But it will be interesting to hear what he says about that. I feel like I can't overlook the Robert Sanchez thing anymore. We've made a joke out of it and said, he's got to have dirt on him. He's got to be blackmailing him. There's something behind the scenes that we don't know. Whatever it is, it's got to stop. Like, it cannot go on. And unfortunately, it is a waiting game. There are, 12 games left of the season. 12? Oh, it's less. There's like 9, aren't there? 9 games left in the season. Unfortunately, Robert Sanchez will play a few, if not all of them. But come the summer, come the end of the season, I never, ever want to see Robert Sanchez in a Chelsea shirt ever again. He is not good enough for the first team. He's not good enough for the women's team. He's not good enough for the development squad, the under-18s. Robert Sanchez is not fit to wear a Chelsea shirt. He is not fit to play for this club. Needs to go immediately. And I will double down. I said it a few weeks ago. It must have been a couple of months now, actually. I need a public apology from Sanchez. He needs to come out and take responsibility. As a grown-ass man, as a grown-ass individual, he needs to come out and apologise to the Chelsea fans for what he's done. This lack of connection, the fact he distances himself from us, makes it even worse. Because he just goes into his own shell, and he obviously can't do it him any benefit in terms of his mental state and his well-being. But for us, all you have to do, if you turn around, it's so simple to turn around and apologise. And that's it, and it's over. But he just pulls himself away, drags himself away, makes himself, shuts the comments off his Instagram, doesn't post nothing. All the boys are posting supportive comments, commenting on each other's pages. Might be the media teams, it might not be them, but Robert Sanchez just, he makes himself a target and then tries to shy away from the limelight. It's like, no, you're a professional footballer earning 150 grand a week. You've chosen this profession and fame. You've got to take the criticism that comes with it. If you're putting yourself out there, you've got to be prepared to take some flack. And yeah, his mentality is so weak and so poor that he just cannot. They are so protective of him. It scares me. It's like their baby brother, their little brother in him, their baby bro in him. It's like they are genuinely looking like mollycoddling him. They've taken him off social media. They all try and back him in press conferences, whatever. but in sly ways, you know, Robert's a great guy, not a great footballer. He's a great guy. We hear what the players think. Like, it's frying my head. Absolutely frying my head. Right, what do we think of the Carabao Cup final, eh? Unfortunately, I think Liverpool are going to win. I'd love Newcastle to win. Unfortunately, I think it is nailed on for Liverpool. But yeah, let me know what you lot think. And yeah, fucking wrap this shit up. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the podcast. This weekend was going so well. Under 18s win, big win yesterday. Women won yesterday. Won the League Cup. Teams dropping points. Beautiful weather. It was all going so well. But that is why I prefer watching Chelsea on a Sunday. Because if I watch them on a Friday or a Saturday, then my entire weekend's ruined. Whereas, just a third of it's ruined now. But yeah, fucking diabolical. As I said, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow at Two Blues Podcast on the Instagram, on the TikTok. Yeah, you know what it is. We'll be back very, very soon. More Chelsea content. International break, so little break from the international, from the live match reactions. But fingers crossed, we will be doing our normal Two Blues Tuesday at 6:30 on Tuesday on this channel live. Myself and my co-host, Mr. C Money Picks, for an hour just to talk shit about Chelsea and football in general. So come join us on Tuesday. Make sure to turn notifications on for any other streams. We will bring you some other. We'll bring you some other entertaining content over the next couple of weeks. Whatever it is, Two Blues Podcast on the Instagram, on the TikTok. I start to stay update. Up the Chelsea. Come on, boys.